On the 27th of August 1896, a war began and ended in 38 minutes. No, that is not a typo. 38 minutes from start to finish, the shortest war in recorded human history. And what happened in those 38 minutes is one of the most extraordinary stories nobody ever told you. Welcome to Zentova, where we discover what the world forgot to tell you. Today we are going to Zanzibar, a small island off the coast of East Africa, in the summer of 1896. Now, before we get into the war itself, you need to understand the world at this time. It was the height of the British Empire. Britain controlled roughly a quarter of the entire planet. Their navy was the most powerful force on Earth, and they did not take kindly to being disobeyed. Zanzibar at this time was a sultanate, ruled by a sultan, but under heavy British influence. Britain had a treaty that said any new sultan had to be approved by the British before taking power. It was, in modern terms, a puppet state. The Sultan ruled in name. Britain ruled in reality. For years, this arrangement had worked smoothly. Then on the 25th of August 1896, everything changed. The pro-British Sultan Hamad bin Thawini suddenly died. The cause of death was recorded as natural causes, though some historians have suggested it was rather convenient timing. Within hours, before Britain could say a single word, his cousin Khalid bin Barghash seized the royal palace and declared himself the new sultan. He had not asked permission, he had not been approved. He had simply taken what he wanted. Britain was furious. The British consul in Zanzibar, Basil Cave, immediately sent a message to Khalid. The message was simple: leave the palace, or face the consequences. Khalid refused. He believed that once he was inside the palace, once he had declared himself sultan, Britain would have no choice but to accept him. He was wrong. Britain sent a formal ultimatum: vacate the palace by 9 a.m. on the 27th of August, 1896, or Britain would open fire. Khalid still refused. He barricaded himself inside the palace. He gathered his forces, approximately 2,800 men. He positioned an old artillery cannon on the palace steps. He even took the royal yacht, a small wooden boat, and anchored it in the harbor, flying the Zanzibar flag defiantly. He genuinely believed Britain was bluffing. At 8:55 a.m. on the 27th of August, 5 British warships positioned themselves in the harbor. Their guns were loaded. Their crews were ready. At 9:00 a.m., Khalid had still not left. The British waited 2 more minutes. At exactly 9:02 a.m., they opened fire. What followed was not a battle. It was a demolition. The palace walls crumbled under the bombardment. The royal yacht, Khalid's symbol of defiance, was sunk within minutes. The flag was shot down from the palace roof. Khalid's forces tried to fight back. They fired the old artillery cannon. They shot rifles from the windows. But they were facing the most powerful navy in the world, with weapons that were decades out of date. One by one, Khalid's men fell, fled, or surrendered. At 9:40 a.m., exactly 38 minutes after it started, it was over. The palace was destroyed. The flag was down. Khalid's forces had collapsed. Approximately 500 of Khalid's men were killed or wounded. The British suffered exactly 1 injury: a single sailor with a minor wound. Khalid himself fled through the back door of the palace during the bombardment. He ran to the German consulate and claimed asylum. Britain demanded he be handed over. The Germans refused, but kept him under effective house arrest for years. Khalid eventually surrendered in 1916, 20 years later, during World War I, when German East Africa fell to British forces. He was exiled. He lived until 1927. The ruins of the palace still stand in Zanzibar today, a crumbling monument to 38 minutes of catastrophically misjudged defiance. And the lesson? Don't start a war with the most powerful navy in the world, especially not over a palace you've been in for 2 days. But here's the deeper lesson that history keeps teaching us, and we keep forgetting. Throughout history, there have always been people who looked at overwhelming power and said, "I don't believe they'll actually do it." They were wrong then. They are usually wrong now. The Anglo-Zanzibar War lasted 38 minutes, but its consequences echoed for decades. Zanzibar remained under British influence for another 60 years, finally gaining independence in 1963. 38 minutes changed the course of an entire nation's history. Think about that. 38 minutes. The time it takes to watch an episode of your favorite TV show. The time it takes to cook dinner. The entire length of a war. History is full of stories like this. Extraordinary, forgotten, completely real. That is exactly why Zentova exists. If this blew your mind, hit that like button and subscribe to Zentova. Every week we bring you the stories so extraordinary, so strange, so utterly real, that you'll never look at the world the same way again. Drop a comment below. Which part of this story surprised you most? See you in the next one.